Hello, this is Witch Nikki, and I'm going to speak from the heart here, people, and you don't have to believe me, you don't have to follow me, you don't have to give me a thumbs up or good comments, but if you don't, just leave. It's been brought to my attention so many times that it just seems like people don't understand what the real meaning of Halloween is about. And the reason why is because it has been distorted over the past 40, 50, 60, 70 years or more. The real reasons that we have Halloween. It's no secret to anybody who follows me that I put Witch Nikki before my name. And I include Witch Nikki as my title. Okay? Trying to word this in the best way possible. I don't have a script written or anything, so I'm just going from my heart. Centuries ago, when people died, they buried them. I want to say we buried them, like I was there. I've lived many different lives before this one. That's why I'm being called what's called awakening. I'm going through an awakening process of my other lifetime spirits are waking up within me. It's like the images come to me. I've had total recall of myself being a witch, being burnt at the stake. And this recall was so vivid. I could smell my skin, my flesh, my hair burning. I felt it. I felt my face and my body and my hands getting hot. I felt nauseated. I felt sick. I felt such pain. Okay? And this happened to millions of women. Okay? Now, the true reason for Halloween is because October 31st through November 1st, they say that the veil between our living world and the world of the dead will be at its thinnest, and that we, those of us who understand and follow this practice, can do our best crafting work, if you will, communicating with those who have gone on. And the messages will come through clearer than they do other times. Some people say that there's a witching hour. My witching hour goes from sunup to sundown, 24 hours a day, all year long. Okay. Now, so many years ago, we would put out food and like cakes and oranges and nuts and berries and things like that for the dead, for the ghost who would come to visit. We would put them out in little shrines on the front porch. and in hopes that we would be communicated with very calmly, and that the spirits and the ghosts would not be upset with us, that we would show respect for them, that we're remembering them still after they've gone on. Well, during that time, children and people were going through hunger, and people were poor. So children would dress up in sheets like ghosts, and run from house to house to house and gathering these treats left out. And if people didn't leave something, they would do some form of a trick or a prank on the people who live there, and in hopes that they would be afraid that, oh, look, the ghosts were unhappy, so maybe next year they would leave out something. Okay. Industries, especially candy industries, and costume industries, when they saw people were using their own costumes, they decided, hey, there's many here. So they started making costumes. They started making candies, things that kids would go trick-or-treating for. So they would go out with their costumes, yelling, trick or treat, okay? And so then people would give them candies and treats. And sometimes before the candy people got into it, people just used to do marshmallow treats and candied apples, oranges, things like that. Still very natural type stuff. You have to remember, towns were smaller back then. You might have maybe 10 or 20 kids a night come to your house, and they'd have to travel kind of far, from house all the way down another acre and then another house and stuff like that. Okay. You can do all the research you want. I'm just relaying a few of the facts that are lodged here in my mind from my life now, what I learned from my mother, and what has been brought into my mind from my past lives, my past life remembrances. Okay? Nowhere at any time did we ever go spilling blood all over the place, or murdering people, or murdering animals, or any kind of forms of mayhem and murder. Okay. That's another false image that I want to remove from your heads, is that witches do rituals, killing things. If there are any witches who do that, they're from what we might call, or you might call, the dark side of magic and witchery and witchcraft and things like that. They're not from the lighter side. From those of us who deal with the stars and the earth and animals, loving them, protecting them, learning about herbs and things like that. Sorry, I'm just a little bit uncomfortable here today. So yeah, there's images that people still look at today. Costumes and stuff. People have just gone way beyond bizarre with some of the stuff that they dress up like. It's sad. It's pathetic. Because nowhere in my time, in my history, in my past history, in my present history, and I know not in my future, will I ever dress up, number one, in something that is murderous or represents murdering people. Okay. I had once made a costume that I'm ashamed of now, but back in those days I was not trying to be condescending. I wasn't trying to be disrespectful. I more or less just was proud, and I don't want to say anything about it because it's that difficult for me. But I realize that the costume was bad, and I would never dress like that again. And all I could say is that if you're dressing like another culture or another race, think about that. Think about what kind of damage you're doing to the people that might be represented by whatever your costume is supposed to be. I recently had a fallout with my granddaughter because she brought home something that I do not approve of. And so I was very upset about it. It's not something I'm scared of. It's something I do not condone for Halloween. And that is scary clowns. I don't have a fear of clowns. Many of you that have seen me know that I like things a little bit in the dark, okay? As cute as this is, it's also scary. But to me, it's just a little gnome who's gone kind of into the zombie world, I guess. Skeletons and skulls do represent the dead and those who have died. It's different than being murdered. Okay, because when you are calling in at a time when the veil is thin, and if you call into your realm people who have done wrong by murdering, or lost souls who have been murdered, will come into your area, okay? And I don't think you want that kind of thing going on. You don't want someone who's been murdered coming, because their stories are still very painful. They're lost. Only people who follow such traditions should call forth to those people and try to find where are they from, what happened to them, what do they need to move on, and help them find the light. Help them move on from this world into the one where they can find peace and move on to being a new creation. I take very seriously Halloween. I don't even call it that so much as when I'm around people who do call it Halloween, then I call it Halloween. But I'm Wiccan, and I am a witch, and I call it Samhain. Okay? And for me, it's very spiritual. This is also the time of the year when it's autumn. And in autumn, we see the leaves falling. They're dead from the tree, and the tree is releasing them. But with that releasing, they are bringing back nutrition for the tree. Okay. So this is a time of year when we let go of things that do not serve a good purpose, that are not positive in our lives. Relationships, habits, gaining weight, things that you want to change and be more positive. So that's why images of murder and terrible, terrible things, crossing the dark side too much, is not what I'm about. So my granddaughter, while I was out my bike ride, wrote me a letter, and I'm going to read it. This is part of my healing. This is not berating her. This is not punishing her. This is me healing, accepting this letter from her heart. Dear Grandma, I'm sorry for bringing home the clown doll. I'm sorry for not thinking about your feelings at the time. I will do my best to help you out more around the house. I understand that I hurt you, and I'm sorry. I love you. Love, Ginger. It'll be backwards because that's how this thing goes. I'm trying very hard to teach her how important and how spiritual Halloween is. And I know her and her mom don't fully understand what it means to me. But I try. Every year I try. And I'm not trying to force them to believe how I believe, but I'm just trying to get them to understand what I do believe and how I feel. So think hard when you practice whatever you practice for Halloween, because there are spirits out there. There are ghosts out there who will be trying to communicate with others, us, maybe you. Listen and pay attention. They're not going to take you seriously if you're running around in a killer clown outfit doing harm to people. They're going to stay away from you. Not because they're afraid. I'm definitely not afraid. I have no fear. But it's an insult to all that I do believe that Halloween is for me. Thank you. This is Witch Nikki.